I'm looking at the clock, and
We still haven't even gotten into the nitty gritty.
This is the nitty gritty.
But
It's a conversation.
But I mean, the gritty at the very bottom of the pot of coffee that Garfield drinks and then gives to Odie.
We'll get to the gritty.
All right. So
bring on the grit.
All right, here goes. I was still young enough to have seen The Letter People, which was created here in St. Louis on KETC, and you were a puppeteer for one, and you were the voice actor for Mr. Z.
Zipping zippers!
Very good.
Zing, 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 zinger, 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 zowie, what a zippy place.
You know it, Dad, real zingy.
Huh? Zowie, who are you?
A name's Zero, man, like you can call me the Big Z. But who are you?
Zowie, I'm Mr. Z, and I get my sound from the same sound that starts zipping zippers. You gotta admit, it's a pretty zingy sound.
You know it, Dad.
I also was Mr. T with tall teeth. And Mr. V with his violet velvet vest.
Wow, someone really needs to update IMDb, because they've only got you listed as those. See, I remember the characters like Monty Swell, the host, Detective Otto, Officer Jabberwocky, Mr. H. The same sound as that's horrible air. Ho, ho, okay, but not a squish box, because I'm afraid I might get cut.
Good.
So the question here is, kids who watch this, granted if they ever do, because I have such a small channel, they're used to CGI renderings and all these really high-tech shows. Since you were an intimate part of The Letter People, can you explain what you think the charms were of that show, what it had to offer that shows today just wouldn't?
Well, I have to explain that it fostered what became a lifetime friendship for me with Tom McDonough, who was one of the creative forces behind it and the director. The first thing I had ever done like that, I got in through a voiceover door. He liked what I was doing, and he said, "And you're a puppeteer?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." And he said, "Well, I think we'll be working together." And I immediately left, talked to other people that were auditioning that day, and I said, if anything comes of this, I need to learn how to puppeteer immediately, because I had never done it at all, and gave myself a crash course because I had promised something that I intended to deliver, but I had no skills yet. So all of those things are personal to me, because I made them happen, because I promised that they would happen. And I became a very credible puppeteer, I feel. But the charm of the show is just in the age appropriateness of it, and that it was being done. I'm not comparing it to The Simpsons, but I'm saying that there were two levels, like so many things that resonate for a younger audience, but also if parents happen to be behind just peeking over the couch, it works for them too. The jokes were great jokes. The humor was linear for a very young audience, but also, I believe, the kind of humor that helps to develop a sense of humor, because nobody was being talked down to, everybody was being talked to. There was a sophistication to the scripts and to the presentation that was still, it was like a great preschool and young education educator. It was somebody who doesn't talk down to the listener, but simply talks to. And I think the characters were accessible, the scripts were accessible, the situations were understandable, and the funny was funny. And when a show works, it works because everybody on the show sort of gets the same joke and is able to tell the same joke. And that's why so many friendships form, because there's a similarity in your people skills, in who you are as a person. I still teach and coach that the biggest part of what you do is who you are. And the individuality that makes each person different is part of what helps each character be different. And why what you bring resonates or doesn't resonate.
You have to look for the humanity, whether it's a puppet with tall teeth or a violet velvet vest or zipping zippers. He still has to have a third dimension that brings a humanity with the character. And I think the casting was impeccable, and every one of us who were involved in that show had those abilities. And when you put them all together, you get something that has a life that is as long as the life of the letter people has been.
Well, I just realized something. It's a good thing that I had my phone going because as we were doing this, I didn't have the record on.
Oh, okay.
So the first part of this is gonna probably have a lot of Pixabay footage. We're both creative people. We can make something happen.
There's gems out there in cyberspace somewhere, or on your phone, or on your computer, or both, or in between.
So, the formula that you mentioned about the letter people, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I mean, I was too young to get a lot of the references, but I really feel like you described this.
There you have it. That's the bar. That's the high bar to clear. That's the goal. That's the castle on the hill.
Were you a fan of the show? Because you were roughly like 13 or 14 when it came out, I think.
As far as by my own estimation, I was the biggest fan the show ever had.
Then you and Corey Burton have some competition amongst yourselves because he was mentioned in a book written by Keith Scott, no relation to Bill. It talks about how Jay Ward had it all started, and it started with the other show that had Lucille Bliss. I forgot what it was called. It was the Rabbit one. The fact that we have a shared interest in this also shows that I guess we both have really good taste.
It's as smart, funny, stupid ever got. And again, like The Simpsons, when people that smart are writing situations that sometimes stupid, it comes out with an elevated level of humor that is, it's timeless, it's ageless, everybody gets it, nobody doesn't get it, and you just want more. You can't be, I mean, who wouldn't want to graduate from What's Amata You?
It's like a beautiful dream, Rock. There must be a catch in it somewheres.
Mr. Moose, I'm your counselor. Now, about your classes.
Oh, I just wear them to read.
No, your classes.
I gotta go to classes?
Of course.
I told you there was a catch in it somewheres.
Now, I'd suggest you take chemical kinetics, differential calculus, and the history of the Peloponnesian Wars.
Take them, I can't even pronounce them.
Boy, they sound tough.
I'll never have time to play football.
Oh, you're a football player?
The frostbite falls flesh. Wanna see my clippings?
From your last game?
Oh, for my last haircut.
It won't be necessary. You'll take all the regular classes for an athletic scholarship,
Which are?
personal grooming, crocheting, and reading modern classics.
That last one sounds tough. What modern classic do I have to read?
Dick and Jane at the seashore.
Well, that's more like it.
I'm afraid so.
That's great. Fantastic, man.
Repetition's the key, Greg. Okay, so for number 3, something comes to mind from back when Men in Black was on the Kids WB lineup. You and Keith Diamond were in a promo with Jeff Glenn Bennett. I told this to Michael Bell that I'm a voiceover purist. After Casey Kasem didn't come back for those 4 movies of Scooby-Doo, it sounded like claws on a chalkboard every time I heard the characters. I mean, not so much for Mary Kay Bergman and B.J. Ward. B.J. was your fellow comrade from G.I. Joe. In fact, you both were in John Stevenson and Christopher Collins' dungeon facing 8,000 spiders in this episode. Jeff Glenn Bennett, he only had one line, and he was supposed to be Tim Daly's Superman. And you both were bringing him in. Hey, Flyboy, can we have a word with you? What can I do for you? Somebody forgot to file the alien tax returns. We're going to need you to come with us. Hope you two learned a lesson. And then Bennett says to Brainiac, busted you too, huh? Yeah.
Shoot him, Jay. He's a cerebrofacaloid. The brains are in the bottoms. You know where to aim.
Sonic blast will liquefy our brains. Roast us in our juices. Fries to the bone. Actually, this is Edo Ross's take. Because I was never able to imitate you.
Ah, that's interesting. I bet you are.
Scroldians possess a hive mentality. They saw what you did, they know who you are, thinking of you every 5 seconds. You're a celebrity, son. Can't we just nuke their planet? Oh, the question. MIB's jurisdiction only extends as far as Earth's atmosphere. Well, what are we gonna do? You, nothing. Leave it to me. What are you gonna do? Leave it to the twins. They always come up with something. Epikaruka. Bob, what do we got? Pat Fraley. Twins will always come up with something, huh? Shh, you'll hurt their feelings. Mind is a terrible thing to waste, son. You don't got much time left. Charles
That's
Napier.
good. Yeah.
Oh, I want to jump ahead here. So, you had the privilege of being the antithesis to one of the best villain voice actors out there. Hello, Kay. It's Alpha. David Warner.
David Warner. Yeah, what a great gentleman. What a walking legacy of greatness. Yes.
That must have been one hell of a thrill, because he and Tony Jay and Tim Curry and Malcolm McDowell, they encompass a major force that could never be topped. They have always been like the best British movie villains of all time as far as voices go.
I don't disagree at all. Actually, we ended on kind of a cliffhanger. I was convinced that we were coming back to resolve all of the things that were left dangling in Men in Black. I never know. I'm always the last one in and the first one out. I never know what gets picked up until you get the call that you're going back to work. I never know essentially anything on the business side of it. But I thought that show ended sooner than it ended unresolved. So something must have happened somewhere to preclude it from coming back. But boy, I would love to. I'd love to return to that. I'd love for there to be new episodes in the casebook of Duckman. I would love for Our Real Monsters to continue their curriculum. There are shows that I would love to see go on and on and on and on and on, as Garfield has, as Transformer has in different incarnations. But I love it when it goes on and on and on, not just because it can be lucrative, but because I can't wait to see where the story goes. I'm a storyteller.
It's gotten so far into your heart that you can't dispel it without dispelling a part of yourself.
I love the storytelling aspect of any creative venture, of any theater venture, any film venture. And that's me as an audience too. If I don't care about the characters, I don't care about what happens to them. So it's very important to me to create
memorable characters. If you want to be remembered, be memorable.
Brian, I want you to meet Gregg Berger, better known as the Grumble and so many others.
Ickis, Crom, Oblina. Brian, get back to your seat. Open your monster book, page 7. Pusillanimous pieces of pond scum. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Guess what? I'm a fan of yours. I have relatives in Creve Coeur, and I've been taken to Pumpernickel's more times than I can count, and every time for breakfast, and every time stellar, man, stellar.
That is awesome.
That is how you deli.
So you know Harlan Levin?
Say again?
His father, Harlan.
Oh,
you met him before?
I've never been introduced, but I'm guessing I've been in the same general environment.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm sure we have mutual friends.
Guaranteed.
He's looking at me while he's answering that question, so I guess that's probably it. Okay, so you've got a question for the great Grimlock here.
So how did you end up and all the way to Hollywood from here?
It was a zigzaggy route. I went from St. Louis to Chicago, where I had cousins and slept on their couch for the first 6 months or so. My first agent was in Chicago, although I got my Screen Actors Guild card in St. Louis from, there used to be an organization called Communico, which did industrial films out in, it's not Wentzville, but it was out in that general direction. Fenton, I think they were housed. So I was a theater student at Webster College, now Webster Conservatory. I had transferred there from schools that I had gone to back east. Although I'm a St. Louisan, I went to Colgate University and Skidmore College. I lost my financial aid during the war protesting years, and their conservative alumni decided not to fund scholarships as generously as they had been. I by that time I had gotten interested in theater, like way interested, and came back to St. Louis, graduated from Webster with what turned out to be a double major in theater and English, and did my first commercial work in St. Louis. Was fortunate enough upon graduation to be invited into some productions with the Repertory Theater of the Loretto Hilton Center, it was called in those days, now the St. Louis Rep. Anyway, I used that as an entree into KETC. I became their booth announcer for a period of time. A number of things just worked in my favor, and I took those early credits to Chicago, got my first agent, Shirley Hamilton, banked that into some fantastic opportunities commercially and film-wise, and was cast in a national tour of a Neil Simon play, which ended its run in San Diego. And I thought, I'm either going to try New York or try California. So I used days off from San Diego to meet agents in Los Angeles. With the film that I had done for Communico in St. Louis, some really funny parts that they had me do, and that's how it began. So I always moved forward into some new adventure, thinking that I had the security of always going back a step if it didn't work. So if LA wasn't working out, I would have gone back to Chicago. If Chicago hadn't worked out, I would have gone back to St. Louis. But I've always had some kind of either stupidly idealistic or realistically naive notion that I was chasing a larger audience if I could find one. Long answer to a short question.
Well, it's really cool that you came from here, that's for sure.
And I go back there every time I have the opportunity. Sadly, it's often funerals. Happily, it's often celebrations. But I also go sometimes just to go hang out in St. Louis for a while. I love it there. I love the fact that it's always easy to find forward thinking because there's so many universities attached to the city. So that's kind of where I direct my focus, is to the Central West End or St. Louis U corridor. I have friends all over the place that I still stay constantly in touch with. I love it there. I truly do. And the people.
Awesome.
And the deli.
So I think you better tell your dad that, Brian, because I think that is definitely going to put everything into context.
I'll be walking in there again someday, for sure.
For sure. Anytime.
Cool, man.
All right. So is there anything else that you wanted to ask Gregg, Brian?
Did you already tell us where he went to high school?
Oh, he went...
Sure.
University City High School, where I was inducted into their Hall of Fame last year, or year before last, which I take very seriously, and so my picture hangs in this hallway, Hall of Fame hallway, that every student walks through several times every day, and I feel very, very honored to be on the wall and part of the Hall of Famers.
That is awesome.
Yeah, my dad went into U City High. Did your dad go there, Brian?
He ended up at Parkway Central.
Oh,
Westward ho! Westward ho!
You stay safe, Brian.
Yeah, you guys take care. Very nice to meet you.
Cheers. Me Grimlock no bozo, me king!
That you are. All right, I'll talk to you later, Brian. I want to thank you again for doing that.
Yeah, man.
I've only known him for like a year, but he's my best friend.
Everybody should have one. That's great.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, a friend of mine that I work with, his name's Morgan. He wanted me to ask you this. When you got your start in the industry, did you have a fear of being typecast? You've played both heroes and villains alike, but do you feel that there's like a type that you're given the most?
No, thankfully. On camera, of course, because you're kind of limited by who you are, how you look, how tall you are, what your voice timbre is, but you're rarely asked to do Gary Oldman stuff and go camouflage and just chameleon on it. When you are, it's a great thing. I kind of did that in episodic show called She-Wolf of London, and I spent 4 months in Russia as Yuri Talinsky from Russian Army in Police Academy mission to Moscow, and when the director Alan Metter asked me what he was going to say to the lobby full of Russian actors who were there for the same part, I said, please tell them I'm essentially full Russian. I'm born American, but I had Russian ancestry who got out of the Tsar's army with their lives and little else, because they came from Jewish communities in Russia. And
you're Jewish too?
Oh yes. And they took positions that brought the next one over and brought the next one over and brought the next one over. And so I had the great good fortune of being born in a free country, but all of my ancestry on my side is from little shtetls off the Goran River, and so I come by it honestly. So Yuri Talinsky, we were there during the attempted overthrow of the Russian government. It was the adventure of a lifetime, and the Russian crew found out that I'm full Russian and that I'm the first in my family to return there since 1918. So I had sort of an elevated position of semi-royalty. They had a party in my honor.